Hello, welcome to another program in the series, Peace is Possible. My name is Joe Wasserman. Today I will welcome Bruce Gagnon to the program to discuss issues around the weaponization of space. Bruce Gagnon is the coordinator of the Global Network Against Weapons and Nuclear Power in Space and was a co-founder of the Global Network when it was created in 1992. He was an early member of the anti-defense lobby in the 1970s, challenging the U.S. space program. Between 1983 and 1998, he was state coordinator of the Florida Coalition for Peace and Justice. He has worked on space issues for 41 years. Bruce has addressed audiences in many nations around the world and throughout the U.S., including on numerous college campuses. Bruce is a Vietnam-era veteran and began his organizing career by working for the United Farm Workers Union in Florida, organizing fruit pickers. Bruce Gagnon, thank you for joining us on our program today, and thank you for your work around peace.
You.
Let's start with this question. What is the Global Network Against Weapons and Nuclear Power in Space, and what are your goals?
While I was working for the Florida Coalition for Peace and Justice in the early 80s, we recognized that the arms race was moving into space. And at that time, there were really only two local peace groups in the country that were exclusively working on that issue. One was the Florida Coalition, and the other one was a group in Colorado Springs called Citizens for Peace and Space. And we saw that this thing was getting worse by the day, and we realized we needed to take it out to a larger level. And so in 1992, as you said, we created the Global Network, and I began traveling around the world because what we learned was as the U.S. was building its space warfare system, they had to create what are called downlink stations all over the planet so that as the satellites rotate the Earth, they send their signals below. These local facilities run by the Pentagon all over the world would take those signals and relay them back to the U.S. And so we discovered early on that there were peace groups developing in these communities saying, we don't want our country to be used as part of this Star Wars program. And so that became the membership of the Global Network. And also at the same time, we recognize that we'll never be able to stop this insanity, which the aerospace industry brags will be the largest industrial project in the history of the planet Earth. We'll never be able to stop it unless we build a global consciousness and a global constituency around this issue. And so that's been our work ever since.
Tell us about the weapons we are sending into space.
Right now, the United States uses space technology to identify targets on the Earth. And then they use this space technology, these military reconnaissance intelligence targeting satellites, to target mostly conventional weapons. But at the same time now, we're seeing growing efforts by the Pentagon to develop things like space-based lasers, what they call the Death Star, that would be able to fire a laser into space, through space, knocking out another country's satellite, and also hitting targets on the Earth below. The successor to the space shuttle, what's called the military space plane, the X-37, it's like a super drone. It looks like the space shuttle, smaller version, but it's shown that it can stay in space for over a year at a time. And the Pentagon has always said that its missions are top secret. But we know from articles I've read in the industry publications like Aviation Week and Space Technology that when they annually practice a computer war game of a first strike attack by the United States on Russia and China, they call it the red team versus the blue team. And in that first strike attack, computer war game, the X-37 military space plane is one of the first weapons used that flies down from orbit, drops an attack on Russia and China. They're working on multiple copies of this particular X-37 space plane. And then it goes back up into orbit again. So there are a whole host of different technologies under development today that will be developed. In that computer war game, it's very interesting. They have a military lawyer sitting next to the computer, and they turn to him and say, is it okay if we use the X-37 in this first strike attack? Will it violate the 1967 Outer Space Treaty that banned weapons of mass destruction in space? That meant nuclear weapons in space. In 67, that's one of the reasons why the Outer Space Treaty was created, because both the United States and the former Soviet Union feared the other side would deploy nuclear weapons in space. And the military lawyer says, no, the X-37 will not violate this Outer Space Treaty because it's a weapon of selective destruction. It's not a weapon of mass destruction, and therefore it falls outside of the 1967 Outer Space Treaty. And for that reason, for about 30 years now, every year, China and Russia go to the United Nations General Assembly, and they introduce a non-binding resolution calling for a new treaty. They call it PAROS, P-A-R-O-S, Prevention of an Arms Race in Outer Space. They introduce that as a resolution that passes overwhelmingly, the United States and Israel voting no. And because it's only a resolution, it's then sent to Geneva to the Permanent Conference on Disarmament of the United Nations in order to negotiate the treaty. And so it's sent there. And for all these years that it's gone there, both during Republican and Democrat administrations, the United States and Israel have been blocking this treaty. The official line of the United States is, hey, there's no weapons in space. We don't need a new treaty. Forget about it. But our position is close the door to the barn before the horse gets out. Now is the last remaining short period of time that we can still ban all weapons in space before the horse gets out of the barn. And that's the work that we are taking to task.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Thank you. Why is the arms race or potential arms race in space a danger to us all? Maybe explain that a little more.
I think that's a really important question. Number one, it very well could trigger World War III, which would be a no holds barred nuclear war between multiple actors. When the United States is having computer war games against Russia and China, they're identifying them as enemies. And we now know with the Obama-Hillary Clinton pivot to the Asia Pacific, where they're moving more than 60% of U.S. forces into that region, they've identified China as the United States' #1 enemy. And the military brass are saying that they expect the war to start in 2027. So if you have a no holds bar war with China and Russia, it's going to go nuclear in a flash, and we're all going to be dead. So at the same time, could you repeat the question again to me? I'm sorry.
Why are weapons in space or the arms race a danger to us all?
At the same time, in order to have this, what they call control and domination of the planet on behalf of Western capitalism, the colonial powers, 500 years of domination of the earth. They say that we have to be able to control space and deny other countries access to space and be, in fact, the master of space. And in a Pentagon document in 1997 called Vision for 2020, they spelled out this very mission using those very words: control and domination of space, denying other countries access to space. And at the headquarters of the Space Command in Colorado Springs, Colorado, above the doorway, their logo reads Master of Space. Well, so this whole idea that the United States is going to be the master of space means that you have to put in place as much technology in space. Again, spy satellites, surveillance satellites, targeting satellites into lower Earth orbit so that you can see everything, you can hear everything, and you can target every place on the planet. And so right now, the United States is working to accomplish that goal. NASA is loudly proclaiming that this is becoming problematic because having so many satellites in space, mostly the United States, Russia and China have, yes, they have some there, but minuscule compared to the thousands that the United States has in space of satellites. But NASA's worried that if we have a war and a war bleeds into space, we're going to have what's called the Kessler syndrome, where you have this cascading collision of all kinds of things blowing up and crashing into each other, and soon creating such a mess up there that we would literally go virtually dark on the planet Earth. So this is one of the first problems of having a war in space. The Earth would go dark because most of what we do on the Earth today is coordinated and directed by space technology, GPS, air traffic control, internet banking. I mean, you name it. We're hooked up to satellites in space. So that's one thing. Beyond that, going back to 1980s, the United States Congress commissioned a study called Military Space Forces in the Next 50 Years. And in that study, they were looking at who's going to control the mining of the interplanetary bodies in the future. They say there's magnesium and cobalt and uranium on Mars, helium-3 and water on the moon, gold on the asteroids. Who's going to control this pathway, the front gate, if you will, on and off the planet Earth to go out and grab these resources? Well, in that study, the congressional staffer that wrote it said that we must control what they called the Earth-Moon gravity well. We've got to control this gateway on and off the planet. And he said by doing so, we would be able to hijack rival shipments upon return. So if another country not authorized by us, the good guys, tried to go out and mine the sky too, we could take them out either on the way out or on the way back. And so this is a real danger. It's like replicating the global war system that we have on the Earth today that's been planted into the depths of the Earth. And now they want to move that into space. So all of these things together make it highly problematic for us to go forward with this plan to weaponize space. And I would suggest that Trump's recent announcement about the Golden Dome, a shield over North America, over the United States and Canada. They're now talking about even pulling NATO into it because it's so expensive, and covering Europe as well. It's an incredible thing. The Congressional Budget Office has said it would cost at least $550 billion, but likely several trillion dollars over the years to come. So another problem with all of this is it's going to bankrupt us.
Yes, yes, yes. And think about how that money could be spent on our schools, on public health, on dealing with the climate crisis,
Exactly.
etc. The other question I have now is, tell us about your work in moving communities from war production to peacetime production. I know you've done some work around that.
Yeah, conversion of the military-industrial complex. I started working on this while I worked for the Florida Coalition for Peace and Justice. You remember when the Soviet Union collapsed in the early 90s, there was a lot of talk about having a peace dividend. We weren't going to need to keep this high level of military spending going on, and that we could possibly convert the military-industrial complex to do good things, to enflesh social progress, to clean up the earth and everything else. And so I organized conferences repeatedly in Florida. We had a big one in Miami one time. We had the president of the Machinists Union. Excuse me, we were very concerned. They have a lot of military contracts. They were very concerned about losing jobs, because we might not be making so many weapons anymore after the Cold War ended. And so the president of the Machinists Union came and spoke at our conference. Well, very quickly, the United States found new enemies. The invasion of Panama, then the Iraq War, into Afghanistan, and on we go to the present day. And so when I moved to Maine in 2003, there's a lot of protests at Bath Iron Works near where I live, where they build Navy destroyers that are outfitted with so-called missile defense systems that are part of this whole space warfare program. And so at these protests, we began talking about the conversion of Bath Iron Works. Why can't we build a commuter rail system up and down the state, getting us out of our gas guzzling cars? Why can't we build tidal power systems that just use the motion of the ocean to generate power, a very clean technology? Why can't we build offshore wind turbines for the Gulf of Maine, which has, they say, the highest wind capacity of any place in the United States? And so these are the kind of things we've been calling on our community, our politicians in Maine, our state, to get behind, so that as we look at the fact that we're $37 trillion in debt in America today, we're going to have an economic collapse. We're already seeing the signs of it, with inflation rising and joblessness growing dramatically across the country in recent years. So this is a really fundamental issue for all of us. But the military-industrial complex that Dwight Eisenhower, when he left the presidency, in his final speech, he warned us about. Beware of the power of the military-industrial complex, he said. In the end, every dollar spent on endless war is a theft. And so conversion gives us an opportunity to talk about an alternative vision for our country and an alternative use of our tax dollars that would benefit the people rather than these endless wars. But the military-industrial complex has made sure that they control the Congress, similar to how AIPAC controls the Congress today to support the war on the Palestinian people. And so it's this control of Congress by these big oligarchic interests that keeps this war machine going.
What are your thoughts about engaging young people in this work?
Well, we've got to, because you and I aren't getting any younger. And even though I've been doing this job a long time, it's really important that we get younger people involved. And lately, we've had some success. We've been able to bring some younger people, some veterans. There's a young man who's a college PhD student in England, who's becoming a really fine expert on the explosion of spaceports all over the world. And he's been writing about it and now touring the world, going to these places. And what we're finding is that at each of these spaceports that are being developed, they say they're going to be civilian. They're going to be only looking for the origins of life and looking at ozone depletion and things like that. But as soon as they get built, Lockheed Martin and other weapons corporations come in. Just to give two examples, Kodiak Island, Alaska, they promised the people of that island that a spaceport there would be civilian. And now it's military, and it's only been military since they built it. And all their launches have been military tests, including test of Israel's Iron Dome missile defense system from there. And then in New Zealand, Rocket Lab promised that it would be a civilian spaceport, but it's only launch military missions. And in fact, it is soon to be launching military satellites for Israel that are used to target their attacks on Gaza. And so what we're finding is an explosion of these spaceports around the world. And this young man is going out and writing about it, letting people know about it, connecting to people in the local communities. So he's doing the kind of organizing I did in the founding days of the global network. So I'm very confident that if we just keep doing what we can while we can, that there will be, as we're seeing now, a younger generation that comes along that really cares about this issue. They care about protecting our Mother Earth. And what we've learned is every time there's a rocket launch, the exhaust from the launch goes up into the upper atmosphere and eats a bigger hole in the ozone layer. So when they tell us they're doing these launches to go study the ozone, in fact, they're helping to kill it. Young people care about that.
Mm-hmm. How can our viewers get involved with this work?
You can go to our website, number one, and the address is spaceforpeace.org, spaceforpeace.org. We also have a Facebook page, the Global Network Against Weapons of Nuclear Power in Space. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter. We also have a YouTube video catalog where we've been making short space videos on all different kinds of aspects of this issue for many years now. You can go there and look at this catalog that we have. It's Space for Peace. Just put that in the search engine in YouTube. And also I have a blog called Organizing Notes, Notes, Organizing Notes. And on this blog, I'm always connecting all the dots to all these issues virtually every day, making posts there as well.
Yes, and I would urge people to really think about getting involved with this because we have to act. We have to act now to stop a dangerous arms race on the ground and in space that's threatening this planet. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry. One more thing I would like to tell people. Every year we have Keep Space for Peace Week in early October. This year it's October 4th through 11th. And we urge people all over the world to hold events during that week to illuminate on a local level these issues. Go to the federal building, go to the local military industrial complex factory, go stand on a street corner with signs and talk about how this massive Golden Dome program is going to destroy the economy in the United States, how it's all about first strike attack coverage. It's about going out and controlling the heavens on behalf of the corporations for mining. I mean, there's so many aspects that can be covered. On October 8th, I just learned yesterday in New Zealand, again at this factory called Rocket Lab, that's making these, launching rather, these missiles for Israel that are used to identify targets in Gaza. There's going to be a protest there in New Zealand during Keep Space for Peace Week. And so we're going to have one here at Bath Iron Works. There's going to be a bunch of them in England, which is now building a lot of spaceports, and Lockheed Martin is going in and taking them over as well. So they're going to be all over the world. And we invite people to check our website, spaceforpeace.org, to get more information about that.
Yes, and if I may add some thoughts, when we listen to the mass media, in the commentators tend to pose Russia and China as antagonists or enemies, um, nations we have to defend against, rather than seeing that we have common interests, that we need to cooperate. There needs to be international cooperation if the human species is to survive in terms of preventing nuclear war and in terms of the climate crisis and public health issues. We, it's through cooperation, international cooperation, lies our hope. Um, and there's very little, if any, discussion about the proposals made by China and Russia to prevent a dangerous nuclear arms race in space. We don't hear about that at all in our mass media.
That's right. And there's a reason why we don't. I remember during the Ronald Reagan years of his presidency, he first came up with this Star Wars program at that time, and it received massive amount of money. They couldn't spend it fast enough. This was in the days when national news was a little more independent. And I remember seeing a story on TV one time. They went to a weapons plant that had just been built for this Star Wars program. And they interviewed people, a lot of people sitting around with nothing to do because the technology was not advanced enough yet, where they weren't really able to produce much. And the essence of the story was that the weapons corporations had so much excess profit at that time that they began buying up media, radio, television, newspaper. And today, it's a whole nother world. They now control, these big corporations control all the corporate media, right? And we can't get a story in at all. I remember one time I was organizing a protest against a plutonium launch at Cape Canaveral. It's when I still lived in Florida. And I was interviewed by CBS Radio, and I was driving my car through Orlando, had the radio on, and there I was on the radio. That could never happen today because of the corporate domination of the media. We have to rely on alternative media, like we're doing right now, to get the word out. So this is one of the things that has resulted from this massive funding of this program in space. Now, again, Russia and China have been saying all these years, let's come up with a new treaty. Let's ban all weapons in space for all sides. And that way we can spend our money on human development. You probably heard that China has now gotten rid of all enormous poverty in their country. It doesn't really exist anymore because they put so much effort into that. And they're saying, we want to continue that. We want to take care of our people. We want to make sure they have health care, unlike we do in this country here. The only way you get health care is if you pay a huge premium every month. Why can't we have free health care like many other countries around the world? So these are the decisions that we as citizens have to make at this time.
Okay, we need to round things up. Could you repeat your contact information again?
Yeah, our website is space4peace.org. And my blog is called Organizing Notes. Just type that in to the search machine, and along with my name, Bruce Gagnon, and you should find my blog, and you can keep in touch with my work on a daily basis.
Okay, thank you, Bruce Gagnon, and thank you for the viewers for hearing out a viewpoint that we're not going to get on the corporate media.
Thank you very much.